Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be going over my TOTA build that I've been using to both climb to 2K, and then also I've been farming my tattoos afterwards. I was fortunate enough to on stream hit a Hinakora's lock today, which is really cool. If you didn't know, I stream at twitch.tv/bikespokes from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. So do come hang out if you find time to. So this build is a take on the Gorgon's Gaze build, which is a build that uses Gorgon's Gaze Regicide Mask in order to use Petrification Statue so that you can petrify your boss after you take in all the other totems. It allows you to get that last totem really easily. And then you also use Void Sphere as your main skill to displace enemies and push them away. So the build, the way it works is they call it a cheese build. And basically the build doesn't deal any damage. It just applies a few curses that are really impactful on these enemies to slow them and keep them from getting to you while you're taking their totems. And then allows you to displace your enemies and put them somewhere else so that they aren't in the way. So for the tree, mainly we're just going for spell suppression, skill effect duration, and spell block, but we also are taking a couple of jewels. So we have the Siege, which adds kineticism to our build, which allows us to inflict maim when we attack and knock back enemies. This helps us so that we can push enemies away and slow them extra than we already are using our curses. So it's just a little bit of added value. We're also running a Watcher's Eye, which is giving us some chance to blind as well as some movement speed on Grace, or while you're affected by Grace. We're then using Might of the Meek so that we can take advantage of the small passives near the Scion star in the center of the passive tree. Things like increased area of effect and skill effect duration and reservation, so that we can maximize how long our Void Sphere is going to last and maximize how big our Void Sphere is going to be, so that we have extra coverage for our build. Apart from this, we're taking a few keystones. We're taking Magebane so that we can get some bonus suppression, easier suppression, and we don't need to have the dexterity bonus for evasion rating because we're stacking evasion so easily on this build and getting evade cap very easily. And then we have acrobatics, which is allowing us to then transfer that suppress into spell dodge so that we can evade attacks, because the whole point of this build's defensive layers is to evade and dodge all attacks possible, which is why we have max block, max spell dodge, and max dodge. Those are our defensive layers. We have 1 HP, and we are using Chaos Inoculation so that we can then take our energy shield and use it for Eldritch Battery, but then also so that we're immune to chaos damage, because there are certain chaos effects within TOTA, as well as one enemy that is specifically chaos damage. This kind of just helps us with that. For the tattoos, we're really just running some accuracy ratings so that we can have a higher hit chance on our ensnaring arrow, as well as skill effect duration on the int nodes. And then we have movement speed, because we want to be able to run around as fast as we can and talk to all the NPCs when buying pieces. And then we also have some spell block to iron out our spell block cap. And then we're taking Whispers of Doom for the additional curse. And we're taking a small cluster jewel for some extra reservation. And Warrior's Tale to double the effect of some of our tattoos. That's about it for the passive tree. The skills are very simple. We're running just a few auras. We're running Grace, Haste, Defiance Banner, so that we can maximize our evade chance to 95% cap. And then we have Haste so that we can, once again, run around as fast as we can to talk to all the NPCs. We're then running Dash as our movement ability of choice. And then we have Temp Chains on Blasphemy with Enhance so that we have a massive AoE temp chains around us at all times. So we're constantly, as long as we're alive, inflicting temporal chains on all the enemies around us, which slows enemies tremendously and gives them less action speed, so makes them slower to attack as well, and cast spells. In our 6-link weapon, we're actually running a 5+1 link in our bow, so we're running a phase run by itself. Now you can swap dash and phase run independently, depending on what you're looking for out of the quality of having more quality from enhance. I prefer having a higher CDR on my dash so that I can use it more often. But you could also do phase run so that you have higher movement speed. For the weapon, 5 link on the bow, we have greater multiple projectiles so that we can cover more ground. Ensnaring arrow, which is our skill of choice for, again, implying less movement speed to our enemies. Additional accuracy so that we hit more often. Mirage archer so that we can automate it. And then knockback so that we can push enemies away as we're casting ensnaring arrow. So we're running second wind, efficacy, and increased duration in our helmet to support Gorgon's, Gaze's petrification statue ability to make it last as long as possible and give it a second charge. We then have skitterbots because we have nowhere else to put it in our helmet. My version is divergent so that I can have extra non-damaging ailment effect. I'm not sure how important that is or if it really does anything. I just had a divergent one, so I just used that. In one of our rings, we have enfeeble. In the other ring, we have blood and sand, divergent for extra AoE while in sand stance. And then in our 6-link body armor, we're running Void Sphere, increased area of effect, increased duration, intensify, enhance, and second wind. This is basically going to make our Void Sphere as large and last as long as possible so that we can pull as many enemies in and keep them there for as long as we can. For our items, we're running a Widow Hail with +1 area effect per 4% quality. And this needs to be at least a 239% Widow Hail. Anything higher is fine, but if you go lower, you might start to struggle on spell block. We are slightly overcapped on spell block, so you might be able to get away with like a 235% or something. I haven't done the math on that. And then for our quiver, we're running a rear guard, which is giving us all of our block and spell block. We're then running Gorgon's Gaze Regicide Mask with Void Sphere has increased pulse frequency so that our Void Sphere pulls enemies in more often. And then obviously we're running the Gorgon's Gaze for the Petrification Statue skill, which is helping us petrify the boss so that we can take his totem at the end as fast as we can. And then for the chest piece, we're running Queen of the Forest. It's a ton of extra movement speed. Up to a 75%, which we are hitting. You have to have 45,000 energy evasion to get that 75% cap on the movement speed for Queen of the Forest. And then obviously it also has a really high evasion base. And then the rest doesn't matter. We don't care about resistances. We don't care about fizz hits because we have 1 HP. Anything that hits us kills us anyways. So we're only focusing on evasion and getting to that evasion point where we can get as fast as we can. For our gloves, we're running Meganord's Vice. This is kind of a standard for all cheese builds. This is allowing us to have extra knockback distance so that we can push enemies further away with our ensnaring arrow. And then it also helps us deal with our strength issues as well. Mine have +2 AoE. It's just buffing the auras in my gloves. And then running Sintrek boots. We run Sintrek boots because it has good movement speed. It gives us a lot of flat energy shield, which is allowing us to use Eldritch Battery easier. And then it helps us fill out our stat requirements as well. It's also an evasion base, so it gives us good evasion. And it's easy to find corruptions on these boots as well. So +2 AoE, +2 curse is best in slot for the blasphemy setup. But you can also go +2 AoE, +2 duration, or +2 curse, +2 duration, as they all are tags that are on the curse itself. Just any of those combined. You can also do like +1 to level of all with any of those other 3. That works too. You can also just get one of them. It doesn't really matter. Then we're running a replica Karui Ward Jade Amulet with freedom of movement so that we can run faster, have more evasion. Although at this point we're kind of overkilling on evasion. But the freedom of movement is mainly for the movement speed. The amulet itself is incredible for the build. It's helping us deal with our intelligence issues. It's helping us a little bit with our dex issues. It's giving us extra movement speed. And it gives us a ton of area of effect as well. 30% area of effect. And it helps us with our accuracy as well, which is awesome. Then we're running a markup submission, which is also common to the cheese builds. This is allowing us to mark on hit. We don't want to use a mark on hit ring or mark on hit gloves our curse on hit. We don't want curse on hit ring or curse on hit gloves we want to use Mark of Submission instead. And the reason is the corruptions of those curses are actually level 1 version of the curses, so they are not nearly as impactful as they are when they're slotted in as a level 21 gem in Mark of Submission. So that's why we're using that. And then the second ring is an unset ring with filling out some strength requirements and int requirements, as well as giving us a little bit of boost of energy shield and mana. And then we have reduced non-channeling so that we can help pay for the Void Sphere. The minimum power charge doesn't do anything. I just bought this ring as it is. As you're seeing it, I didn't craft this myself. You generally just want energy shield and fill out your stats in non-channeling. Max mana doesn't really matter, although it can be helpful for reservation issues. And the minimum power charge can literally be any modifier and doesn't matter. I guess accuracy would be best if that's a suffix for the ring. My Mage Blood, I'm running my Mage Blood for my Creeping Frost build, which is giving me more movement speed because it's double corrupted. Obviously, any Mage Blood would do here, but I just had this one, so I'm using it. For the flasks, we got the 70% increased effect, 25% increased effect on a Jade Flask with 14% increased movement speed. Then we're using a Dying Sun. The Dying Sun you don't really need. It just gives us extra AoE at the start of a match, but you really don't need Dying Sun at all. Then we're running a Stibnite Flask of the Dove with increased attack speed, increased effect. Quartz Flask of the Order so that we get the reduced mana cost, again for Void Sphere, to help pay for its costs. And then we have a Quicksilver Flask with evasion rating so that we can pump up our evasion rating and get that evade chance up. And that's about the build. Now, this build is a super premium version of the build it's inspired from. The build it's inspired from is actually super duper budget. I'm going to leave a copy of the budget version in the description. I did not create the budget version. I don't know who made the original idea, but this is just basically what I did was I took their build and then I enhanced it to make my build, and then I worked it backwards to a budget version again. So I do have a budget POB as well as this really premium version. Both versions work great. Both versions will get you to 2K. Tried and tested. I know for a fact they will work. And yeah, happy TOTA farming because it's not going core. We'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.